What is going on, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Today, I'm going to be talking about 5 gods, one actually from each class. It worked out luckily like that, so I actually don't have to say, oh yeah, one didn't get it. But yeah, one from each class that I think needs a buff, and then what buff I would do for them to make them feel as good as the rest of the cast. Because currently, I think Smite's in a pretty healthy spot in terms of characters being meta. I think there's a lot of characters you can play. Not a lot of characters might be OP. There's like a handful. I think Vamana's still in that category, even after his few nerfs. Just make him not go through walls high res. Make him just don't allow him to walk through walls in ult form. Then maybe remove the attack speed from his passive also. But other than that, I think a lot of things are very balanced right now. But here's 5 gods. Starting with number 1 and in the assassin tab, we're going to start with Bastet. I think Bastet's biggest problem is that her ult is now at 110 second cooldown at base, and it scales down to 90 seconds. I think when she first came out, her entire kit was very strong. She had very low cooldown. She did very high damage. She was super safe. Slowly, everything got moved back. Her damage got worse. Her cooldowns got worse. And now she doesn't really have that identity where I think Huntress of Vast should allow her to be like this more pick-oriented god. And I think moving this down from 110 to just 90 at all ranks, or even 100 down to 80 if you feel like it's too strong early game, I think it would be very healthy for the character and help her out a lot. That's what would be my first one. I think the rest of her abilities are actually pretty good. I think the only other thing I would do is maybe buff her passive a tiny bit, because I think this is kind of underwhelming when Hi-Rez went through and nerfed all the lifesteal and all the healing. Obviously, Bastet's passive got hit, so if you wanted to, you can move this up also a little bit, but I understand if you don't want too much healing in the game. Next up, Osiris. By golly, this character's been gutted and gutted and gutted, and now he is useless. Let's start with this one. Move this back down to 5 seconds. Yes, it was OP when it was 6 seconds and doing 90 damage. It's not a problem anymore. Move this down to 5 seconds. Keep it at 70 damage. His 2, I think his 2 is his only fine ability other than his ult. This is fine as is. His 3, now this is where the problems start. This is something that is a conditional effect ability, and it's also something that takes 4 seconds for it to actually happen. So it's damage reduction from 10 to 20%. If somebody's around you when you press your Judgment Tether button for the next 4 seconds, they will be doing reduce damage by 10 up to 20%. And then if they're in that area of Osiris, which is, I think it's 55 or 35 units, they're stunned. This is so bad. It used to be 20 up to 40 or 10 up to 30%. I think it was 10 up to 30%. And it used to feel very, very good when you got points into it. Once you were in like that late game portion of it. Now it is just useless at all points. 20% damage reduction is fine, but it's conditional. The person has to be 35 units away from you. It only lasts 4 seconds. This needs to be just bumped up a lot. I think 20 up to 40 would even be fine. If it is a problem with how much it does, you can just move the cooldown up to 16, 17 seconds. Osiris's ability to just blink into the back line and kind of live is what he was kind of known for. And now he doesn't do that at all because he was abused in the jungle a lot, and you could basically build him full damage and just blink in with his 3, and it was fine. If he does come out as a jungler again, which I don't think he will, you can make the damage reduction scale off protections, maybe 10% plus 50 protections from items or something like that. Something like that I think would be pretty cool. Next up, this one's probably pretty obvious because I hate this character because I feel like he's useless. Kumbhakarna. Now, I think Kumbhakarna's passive is in a pretty decent spot now. He is very annoying on a 2-minute cooldown. It's up a lot, and it's something people kind of have to pay attention to. It allows him to trade kind of 2 for 2s, and in the end, it might not even be a 2 for 2 because he's just in Sleepy, and he wakes back up, and it ends up being a 1 for 2. So I think Sleepy's fine. I think it would be cool if Throwback, you could maybe hold it and go through minions or go through enemies. I do think you'd have to change the cooldown up a little bit more because 11 seconds where you're just dashing through enemies, they're trying to body block you or dashing around, I think it would be very, very strong. But I think that'd be a cool ability for the first one. The second one, I think it'd be sick if you could cancel this early. So if you press 2, as soon as you bring it back and you insta-cancel it, maybe a 0.5 second root or 0.7 second root cripple instead of a full 2 second one, but it scales up depending on how long you hold it. I think his 3's in an okay spot. I think his ult is in an okay spot. It's kind of something where this could be really good for your team or really bad. I think you could move the scaling up a little bit. So if you built a couple damage items on Kumba, this doesn't feel so bad. Because I mean, 55% scaling on this for some reason, this is super low. Like you look at other supports, 80%, and this hits up to like 5 people. I mean, Sobek's is going to be 80%. Sylvanas' is 125%. I mean, we'll look at Terra Woman last one, 60%, and it hits multiple people. So I think Kumba's ult can scale a little bit harder, but Kumba, I think, a couple ideas for him. For Jisha, Persephone. And I only have one change for Persephone. I think a lot of the mages actually feel in a pretty good spot. Make Bone Rush go through walls. This ability can be super sick or absolutely useless because a wall that, like, let's be real. Some of these walls on this map, it's not even a wall. It's just, it's for some reason the wall is just out 7 inches farther than the actual wall visual, and you clip that, and then your burst is all down and you have no other burst damage, and then your team is pinging wires and this guy dying because you're through your ability into the wall. Make Bone Rush go through walls. It'll make her feel a lot better. You can even remove the slow if you wanted to. I think this would help her a lot, because I think this is the one ability that just makes her feel really bad. Her 2, her 3, her ult all feel fine. Her passive, I know some of you guys hate it, but it's free gold. Just buff Bone Rush. Lastly, my boy, the Lion. This is my idea, because I love on her. This is, I think, would be a really cool idea. So when they nerfed his ult down to 75 seconds, he was very, very oppressive in dual lane. He would just jump in and ult kind of off cooldown. Don't do that anymore. Keep it at 90 seconds. 2 changes for Honor. 1, guys, he's the slayer of enemies. If he jumps in and gets a kill, reset his jump cooldown by half. So say late game, it's 10 seconds, just because it's the easiest math. 10 seconds. He jumps in, he gets a kill. It resets 5 seconds off of it, and he can jump back out again in a few seconds. Allow him to play aggressive. Allow him to use his jump aggressive, because he is the slayer of enemies. He's trying to get in there. And then my second one, just as a little support thing, make his 1 the damage buff for all allies, not just for him. You can even move this to like 15% instead of 20%, because 20% for 5 people would be pretty powerful, especially around objectives. But just make it 15%. Have all allies that are hitting people in the slow, in the shifting sands. That'd be really cool in my opinion, but that'd be my idea for on her. Well, there it is. 5 gods that I would buff and how I would buff them. Let me know what you guys think about my gods. And if you guys have any gods you think need buffs, drop it in the comments below. What would you buff with them? How would you buff them? Why do you think they need a buff? Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. See you guys again next time. Peace.